You're with Julian on the Brown Note. And why do we keep electing right-wing populists? In particular, why do we not ever elect the left-wing equivalent? So in Argentina, the far-right libertarian Javier Milei, victory for TV celebrity turned politician, catapults South America's largest economy into an unpredictable future. Javier Milei, a volatile far-right libertarian who has vowed to exterminate inflation and take a chainsaw to the state, what original ideas, has been elected. Peter, do you reckon he'll go after tax cuts for the wealthy in his chainsaw? Has been elected president of Argentina, catapulting South America's second largest economy next to Brazil into an unpredictable future. The Mick Jagger impersonating TV celebrity turned politician is often compared to Donald Trump. And would you possibly believe that he's going after repealing abortion, which was only passed in 2020? It's almost that the right-wing populists have women's rights, gay rights, and the welfare state on their minds the second they get elected. But why do we keep electing people like this? They don't win every time, but we never elect their opposite. We can elect extreme right-wing populists like Donald Trump that openly flirt with fascism, but we never ever go down the other road. And look at the UK. Sue Braverman recently lost her cabinet position after her deliberately provocative tenure as a foreign secretary in that country, which is mind-blowing, and the fact that they've dragged David Cameron, architect of the Brexit disaster, back in to replace her. She actually ended up losing her job after several combustible attacks on the Prime Minister, including penning a article for, I think, the Times, which suggested that the UK's police were soft on left-wingers. Oh yes, Sue. Always happens. The continual criticism of the police is that they're far more tolerant of right-wing groups than they are of left-wing. But she said that basically the police were soft on left-wing groups and hard on right-wing groups. And that led to a protest on Remembrance Day, November the 11th, descending into about 120 right-wingers being arrested as they turned up to protest, and the inference being that she had inspired them to do so, and she got kicked out, and obviously doesn't care in the slightest, because she probably has designs to run for leadership of that party, and with Boris Johnson being, the predecessor of the recent two, she would have every reason to believe that being as offensively right-wing populist would get her the job. These are all such tragic people. I mean, the Argentine guy is just a facsimile of Donald Trump or any other right-wing populist in America. Sue Braverman is just basically Marjorie Taylor Greene. All they do is copy the populist post-Fox era right-wing in America. And they present themselves as this amazing force of change. Yet they are not an amazing force of change, because an amazing force of change would be, in America, Bernie Sanders, in the UK, Jeremy Corbyn. Now, those people on the other end of the spectrum are never allowed to take office. We never allow the opposite of a populist right-winger, who is usually moronically stupid, represents a handbook of hand-me-down ideas from the American populist right, even if they don't even apply. Look at the Australian version of these idiots, where they go on about a war on Christmas, as though that has any cultural relevance to Australia. Every year they're on Sky News at night talking about the war on Christmas, because that's all they have is a right-wing playbook from America. They're just facsimiles. But the point of this whole article is that people elect them because they want to shake up the status quo. These are the status quo. These people are the elite that you're trying to vote out. If not, they wouldn't be elected. The only thing Trump did in his tenure in office of major policy was to give enormous tax breaks to the wealthy. That's all these people do. They masquerade around talking about cultural warfare and Marxism and everything else, and whoops-a-daisy, I've passed some massive tax breaks for very wealthy corporations and individuals. They never actually go after anyone at all, apart from gays and women. These are the elite. People that challenge the elite are Jeremy Corbyn and Bernie Sanders, who want to reshape the economy to be as fair as it was 20 years ago or 30 years ago, where someone on an average wage could afford an average home. These people are regarded as Che Guevara now, even though what they're asking for is what we already had. So don't be fooled into believing that these mavericks are out there fighting the system for you, because they come from the elite. They're supported by the elite. They represent the same interests for the elite, but they do so with a lot of noise and firecrackers going off, and that's it. It's worth pointing out, even though in the UK it was the most destructive act they could have possibly done to have gone through Brexit and elected Boris Johnson, the UK's media, including stuff like The Guardian and the BBC, who should know better, would rather have Boris Johnson and Brexit than Jeremy Corbyn. That's your real challenge to the elite on the left. And in America, they would have rather had Donald Trump in the White House than Bernie Sanders. Because in the end, as long as those right-wing populists screaming about every social issue they can to distract the public's attention are representing elite interests, they aren't storming the barricades at all. In fact, what eventually happens is someone like Donald Trump comes along and just doesn't want to give up power. So in a funny way, he was storming the barricades, but he wasn't storming them on the behalf of the public. He was storming them on behalf of himself because he didn't want to give up power. So it's now we keep doing it, but if you really want to take down government, you're sick of politicians, you're sick of the unfairness of society, never vote for a right-wing populist. They're smoke and mirrors. They represent the elite, just in a much more colourful way than the boring Democrats or boring Republicans do.